Hello, I'm Faye. That is Colonel.
What's up?
And welcome to So the Screens, brother. That's right. Tonight, we are actually reviewing some movies. We're going to review The Iron Claw and Ready to Rumble. Unless you have no clue what those movies are, the theme is wrestling. And the reason why is because it is Royal Rumble week. My favorite wrestling event every year. Wow, WrestleMania is great. Yeah, well, WrestleMania is great, and it's including its storylines and launching a new season and stuff like that. I love the Royal Rumble because it's more exciting because you get the countdown, and you're like, who's coming out next and who's gonna win?
What is it? 3 minutes between each person?
It's 2 minutes between each person. 2 minutes. Yeah, sometimes it's a minute and a half, sometimes it's 2. They kind of change their mind every once in a while.
But then sometimes you end up with like 25 people in the ring.
Mm-hmm. And then it's even more fun now since they added the Women's Royal Rumble since 2018, 2019. So now you get 2 Rumble matches every year, and it's fucking awesome.
It is probably my favorite event that wrestling does.
Yeah. And this year they have a ladder match, too. Cody Rhodes versus Kevin Owens in a ladder match for the WWE title.
I don't think they're going to take it away from Cody Rhodes yet. But
no, but it'll be a fun match to watch. They'll beat the shit out of each other with some ladders and stuff.
I mean, Roman Reigns had that title for, what, 4 years?
Yeah, it was ridiculous. And they're not going to take it from Cody before WrestleMania. They're going to do the full year. Now, who he's going to defend it against, I don't know. We'll find out at the Royal Rumble probably, because whoever wins the Royal Rumble goes on to WrestleMania to face the champion.
Mm-hmm.
But which champion? We don't know. Oh, God, I love wrestling because you just never know what's going on. It's a soap opera for men, and I can't get enough of it.
Yeah, funny tidbit about the Royal Rumble. That was the first time that my daughter got to watch wrestling, and she loved it.
Yeah. That was like one of my favorite stories you've ever told me. Well, before we dive into our wrestling movie, pop culture, whatever direction that I'm going in with this, we got some beer, like we do.
We do.
Each week.
So the beer that I get this week. Yeah, so this one is. Yeah, I've got to remember. I changed my my camera up this week. So this is from Boulevard Brewing. It is a brewery in Kansas City. This one is called Salute to the Monarchs, which is a salute to the Kansas City baseball team before the Royals, like back whenever there was segregation and that sort of stuff. So the Kansas City Monarchs was the team from Kansas City, and it had a lot of big name players that ran through there. I can't recall off the top of my head right now who all was there. But this is a salute to them. It's a Belgian style triple ale. So we will.
So it's a salute to the Monarchs. It might taste like the Great Depression. We never know. We'll find out.
If it's hoppy, I'm probably not going to like it, but there's probably a lot of people that do. But I just thought it was kind of cool. So it was a debate between this one and the annexation of Puerto Rico last week that I was debating between the two of. So here we are.
See, and I struggled on that annexation word too last week, so I'm glad you just did. Well, my beer is actually not anything crazy. It's different flavor, anything like that. It's just a beer I haven't tried yet. I'm sure you've probably tried it, but it's just a good old American light beer. And
is it
my local liquor store finally got the garage beer.
The Kelsey brothers. So Jason and Travis Kelsey have. I don't remember if they own the brand.
What do they have to do with it? Are they just like
they're huge promoters for it? So I don't know if they're just investors and trying to get it out there, or if they actually if it's their
own a piece of it, or don't know. So I don't care now. But another reason why I even got it, I was like, oh, cool. Oh, yeah, I'll try that. And it's also because, the big championship game this weekend, and I like to try to do some juju bad mojo. So if I drink some of Travis Kelsey beer, maybe it'll fuck them up a little bit.
No, that is Jason Kelsey's beer this weekend.
Okay, but yeah, so good old. Do you like garage beer? I'm assuming you've had it.
So I've had it. I've only had it one time. The problem for me is the price point of it is about probably 20% higher than all the other domestic beers. I mean, to me, it tasted like if you were to pour a Bud Light and a Coors Light into the same glass and drink it.
That's what it's slutty. It's a slutty beer, is what you're saying. Okay. They also had the garage beer lime or whatever.
Yeah.
But I was like, I'll just go with the classic.
So what do you think of yours? I am not disappointed in this one. I mean, it's not one that I'd want to drink all the time, but it's pretty good.
Does it taste like the Great Depression?
No. It really just tastes like a Belgian style triple ale. No. It just kind of tastes like probably one that you would get
to it.
Not really. I mean, it tastes like one that you would get on tap somewhere, that a little heavier than your regular light beers, but it'd probably be right in line with a lot of your like Budweiser, like your Coors Original, like your heavier beers. Pretty good though.
I like me some Diesel. I'd probably be down for some Monarch.
Yeah, you probably like it.
Anyways, my beer does taste like a garage. It's fucking delicious.
I don't know how many garages you've been to, but most garages don't taste delicious.
I like it though.
It's a good beer. It's just like I said, with it being a little bit high on the price point. Kind of like Mr. Bolin let me try it. He brought one in to the bowling alley one night for me and tried it out. And like I said, I liked it. It's just the price needs to come down a little bit for me to go get it, because it's, to me, not enough. Like, it's basically your regular domestic beer.
Oh, I want to test that Instagram real quick. Fuck. I want to see if they censor that or not.
All right, so he's got the garage beer.
Oh yeah, you keep tallies.
Yes, I do.
I got a burp stuck. Hold on. Chris Farley.
Have your mom come burp.
God damn it.
Yeah.
Our producer has jokes.
I can see
Malcolm X
in there a little bit.
I mean, the skin tone's a little different, but
well, since I've just finished mine beer,
but by means,
I'm going to give mine a 4.5.
Ooh, what kept it from a perfect 5?
There's
a little too much Diesel, a little too heavy.
It's got a little bit more of an aftertaste than what I would prefer, but I mean, it's one that, I mean, I could drink a 6-pack without any trouble. See, I should not drink a 6-pack though. These are 9.2% alcohol by volume.
Ooh, kicking the dick.
I want a can of whip ass on it.
What? This is really good. I would give it a 5, but since it has both Eagle and Chief in it, I'll give it a 4.5 as well. Why did you start doing that? Dodo. That just makes me feel fat.
You said that right about taking a drink. We about got a shower.
Well, because that's kind of themed where like it's a fat dude's walking. Do. Go
ahead and move on to the first movie if you want to kind of talk about what you were thinking on this pick.
Yes, we are going to kick right off into one of the reviews of one of the movies that I picked this week, and I figured we would do the more depressing movie first, which is the Iron Claw. The Claw. But before we do that, we have to pay some bills, so we're gonna have a commercial break.
Yeah,
aka I have to fucking pee.
That's what I figured.
And still champion. is the honey of the night. It's Honey Nut Cheerios.
Welcome back from that commercial break. Now we're gonna talk some Iron Claw. I just watched it for the second time last night. I forgot how fucking depressing this fucking movie is.
So I watched our other movie first before. So my wife and I watched it. Then we watched this one. I was thinking that it was going to be an uplifting something. I was not expecting the depressing show that it was.
It was. Let me kind of include people that don't know Iron Claw is. Iron Claw was a movie about the Von Erich family, legendary wrestling family from Texas from the 70s and 80s. And there's this thing called the Von Erich curse. And when you watch the movie, you learn why. Because, I mean, it's not a spoiler at all, but there's a lot of death in that fucking family.
Yeah.
And they made a movie about it. Yeah. And they made a movie about it. And I didn't, me being a huge wrestling fan, I've really just been a big WWF guy. So I only knew about Kerry Von Erich because he was the only one that made it to the WWF.
Right.
So going into this, I was pretty blind too with it. And I was like, okay, so what happens? And then it's just death.
Yeah. Like it made me feel bad for all of the sons, because it's like your dad doesn't give two shits about you. He just wants to have a belt in the house.
Oh yeah, that was fucked up. There's no crying. God said that it was time for him to go. I was like, what the fuck? This dad's a prick.
And then in the same sentence, he turns around and says, "You're gonna get your shot."
Yeah, the same day as the fucking funeral of David.
Now, did you ever go look up how true to the events that movie was? Like I did not, so I was just curious how close to the events that truly transpired that movie was.
Well, I did a little investigation in the Von Erich family after I watched the movie, and then I also went to my Texas experts. A couple of buddy of ours are both huge Von Erich fans, so they filled me in on like what was true, what was not.
Was that Tilly and Mr. Canales?
Yes, exactly. And they could tell you everything and anything about the goddamn Von Erichs, including that there was actually another brother that died, but he wasn't included in the movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So there was a fourth brother, I think. Yeah, so 3 died in the movie. There was a fourth one that died. The reason why he wasn't in the movie is because his death was similar to one of the others. So that I thought they kind of repetitive into the movie.
I feel like in the movie at the beginning they were talking about one of the brothers died at like 3.5.
They
were like 6.5.
Jack Jr. Yeah, Jack Jr.
So he wasn't.
He died too. Well, he died too, but there was also another brother besides him.
Oh, okay. So that was true, but then there was another brother that ended up.
Another brother that was never even mentioned in this movie.
Was it another motorcycle accident?
I'm not sure. I'll have to hit my Von Erich experts on. I don't know if it was a motorcycle. Well, because he didn't die in a motorcycle accident. He just lost his foot. Kerry Von Erich.
Well, true. Yeah.
I don't know if it was a suicide thing or a health thing or what. I'll have to check in on my Von Erich professionals there. But yeah, there was one that was just way too similar to a death that you see in the movie. So they were like, well, we can't just do a repeat in the movie when they're already crunching for time. Because
right. Well, and so like the casting. I mean, I didn't actually pull up the pictures of the brothers next to the actors that portrayed them, but I mean, from what I could see, they looked like a pretty good casting for the 80s, 70s, 80s time frame of wrestlers.
Well, during the credits, they show the actual family too, so you can kind of see in comparison. Okay. The dude that played Kerry Von Erich that lost his foot, that's from the show The Bear,
The Bear. Yeah.
He looked just like the Texas Tornado, Kerry Von Erich. That's the only one that I was familiar with because he was the only one that made it to the WWF.
So, Zac Efron, like, did he take steroids or something for that movie, or did they?
No,
they alter it.
No, because that's how built Kevin Von Erich was back in the day, and all the interviews and stuff like that he did for the promotion of this movie. His little press tour and stuff like that. He said was the hardest thing he's ever done with the workout regimen to be that fucking solid and that stacked. And he's like,
So
I'll never do that again. Because Zac Efron's always been a ripped, buff dude, but
he's always been kind of scrawny. Well, not
right,
scrawny,
he's
like
not scrawny, but just ripped, not big, just ripped. You know,
right,
like chiseled, like all the ladies like.
right. So he actually did put in the work to make himself
He
that
put
big
in the
for
work.
show. Wow.
He put in the work. But yeah, I was very impressed, and I was very disappointed that Zac Efron or anybody from this movie didn't get any award
kind of
recognition.
Award recognition. Yeah. I mean, I felt like all of them did a really good job playing their parts. Like, I mean, it's, to me, overall, it's just so sad that only one of those brothers, it feels like they actually were able to get away from the wrestling part and make a family and survive.
I'll get more into Kevin, the sole survivor there, but I thought it was kind of heartbreaking when he's talking to his wife from the funeral and stuff like that. He really truly believed in the Von Erich curse.
Yeah,
and it's so much where he wanted to be away from his family. From what I understand, that was all 100% true.
He wouldn't
want
to
put the curse on him.
Name. Yeah,
didn't want to. Yeah, because that wasn't even their actual last name. Jack Senior. He adopted that Von Erich name from his grandma or something like that.
Yeah.
But when going in this movie, though, like kind of what you're saying, like I knew it was gonna be depressing because I heard enough about the Von Erich story from like, okay, there's a lot of deaths.
Well, see,
I was expecting some kind of uplifting.
Right. So at your suggestion, I did not do I didn't look anything up on the movie before we watched it, and I was just
That's how
okay,
it was.
There's got to be some kind of payoff of, so all this happened, but now so and so is doing well and this and that, and like that never came.
I mean, there are some silver linings, but yeah, I kind of did the same thing because when I heard that there was going to be a Von Erich movie, I purposely did not do any research because I didn't want to know which brothers died or how they died and stuff like that. Then I went into it, and I'll get into my conclusion of my thought of the movie in a little bit. But after I got out of the movie, I immediately texted our Von Erich experts. I'm like, "Does that really happen? Is this really a thing? What are they making up here?" Like, no, that was true. Oh, that was true.
Wow.
But what did you think of the? In case people haven't figured out by now watching this, we do spoilers when we're reviewing movies. I mean, this movie's been out for 2 years.
Right.
So
this was a first time watch for me. It's one that I heard you talk about it right after it came out, and you were pretty excited about it. And it's one that's always been like what I'll call my B list. It's like if I can't think of anything to watch and I'm in the mood, I would have watched it, but it just never.
It's been on your radar. Like
right.
If there was a time to where you're surfing and you're like, I needed something to watch, then maybe you'd stop on it and watch it.
Right, and I almost watched it probably 3 or 4 times in the time that it's been out and streamable, but now I have watched it because you decided to put one of the most depressing movies I've ever seen on my watch list.
Yes. I think I decided that's probably my favorite thing about doing this podcast now. Is then now when I know that there's movies you haven't seen, guess what? There's gonna be an episode where we have to watch them now.
Oh, don't worry. You might be careful about telling me the movies you haven't seen.
But anyways, yeah. But what'd you think of the weird afterlife scene after Carrie killed himself, and then all of a sudden he's on a boat and he goes and meets his brother and meets his older brother who is a little kid.
Right. So
that was an interesting choice.
I feel like it didn't really go with the rest of the movie. I feel like the directors maybe thought this is turning into a super depressing movie. We need to give some sort of payoff there. We need to have some let him go meet his brothers in the afterlife just to.
But that was still depressing. It
was
still fucking depressing.
To me, it just. Yeah, I can see why they did it. I don't know. The movie was tough.
My thing is the whole Von Erich curse stuff like that. Okay, the first one that died, his intestines blew up or whatever.
Right. Well,
And then
it
the
seemed
rest
to
of them
me
were
like that
just
happened whenever he was overseas doing the Ric Flair.
working him too hard because they wanted to bring the world title into the family.
Right.
The only
Mhm.
uplifting thing is basically at the beginning of the movie because you see the camaraderie between these brothers. Like these are not just your common fucking brothers. Like they loved each other. They were a team. They were a pack.
All right, and like what I couldn't stand was the kid that was the musically inclined kid.
Mm.
Like
I felt bad for him.
his dad made him go get in the ring just because the one like lost his leg and couldn't wrestle for a while. So he made the one that had no business being in a ring go out there,
And then
and
he got injured.
got injured and paralyzed. Well, not
And that was
paralyzed.
all legit.
Coma
No,
and-
he went into coma because of the toxic shock or whatever. Yeah,
like,
that's all real too. And since he couldn't function and couldn't play his guitar anymore, that's why he ended up going. I'm going to a better place and did the pills.
right. And the other thing, like with that, if he was as good of a musician as they portrayed him in the movie, like he literally could have been the next Clapton or something like that. And we'll never know because.
So from what I understand, he was a hell of a musician. But coming from the family that he was, he felt obligated to be a wrestler.
Yeah.
But to go back onto the whole Von Erich curse though, like, was it really a curse? Because like, okay, you had the one that died from injuries, but then the rest of them were pretty much self-inflicted.
Agreed.
Like, I don't know, maybe there's mental health issues with this family or something. I don't know.
Well, I mean,
but I wouldn't call it a curse though. I just think it was
come from the father. 100%.
Yeah, and then growing up with a father like that, where you had no choice but to do this, do that.
I was happy to see Zac Efron's character finally stand up to his dad at the end of the movie.
That's actually kind of a bright moment when after Carrie shot himself and Zac Efron attacked his dad. I'm like, yeah, fucking choke him out, fucking choke him, go to sleep, bitch.
And then he goes back a little bit later, and his dad like they're just struggling, like barely keeping their heads above water with the wrestling ownership that they have, and
the company.
Dad, hey man, we've got to sell. I mean, I've got to think about my family. We are not making it. And and his dad, and even to that point, like after all the other kids are no longer with him.
The dad's still butthurt that he's trying to sell the company.
If you ever sell that company, you will not walk through the doors of this house ever again. It's like, good grief, man.
Right.
So I was really happy to see him go ahead and sell it, but
yeah. But with this movie though, I was going in preparing myself like, okay, this might make me cry. Being a big wrestling fan, so like this shit might make me emotional. And it's very depressing. And I'm getting through it. I'm like, okay, I haven't cried. And then it gets to the very end. I'm like, oh, cool. I made it. Until fucking Kevin Von Erich's little boys come up to him asking him why he's crying. And saying, I used to have brothers like that.
You
And
can
then he's like, you can cry. Yeah, we'll be your brother. And it's okay to cry, Dad. So I'm like, you little bastards. I want to fucking. I've made it this far, and now you're going to make me cry when literally the credits are about to roll.
That is literally the first time in the movie that I think you see Zac Efron's character cry. And I don't know if
that realization that he doesn't have to live his life like his dad did. He doesn't have to raise his kids like his dad raised him.
Right.
Which spoiler, which if I don't know if you remember this, but you have seen those two little boys. You have seen them wrestle live. When we went to the Cotillion, one of those shows, the Von Erichs were one of the tag teams that we watched. Yeah.
No way, really?
Yeah, that's Kevin Von Erich's kids.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we watched it.
Maybe that's why the name was ringing a bell with me whenever because
And
I
they
didn't
wrestled
know.
barefoot like Kevin Von Erich did, and they did the claw and
Like,
stuff like that. Yeah,
the name Von Erich rung a bell with me, but I could never place why it rung a bell, and that's probably why.
Yep. You have seen those little boys in action. Well, that sounded weird, but you've seen those fully grown boys wrestle.
Pull a Michael Scott and set up an online profile as little kid lover.
Right. I'll kick it off and kind of give you an idea with my rating system here, because I was super excited for this movie, and I kind of went in blind on the whole Von Erich history. It was way more depressing than I expected. I thought it was a pretty well-made movie. I thought the pacing was a little weird, and my biggest issue with the actual filmmaking itself is the time lapse. They never really made it clear like how far apart like the deaths were, or this was, and stuff like that. There was no like little title like 6 months later, or just even kind of give you an idea. It just jumped from the next one to the next one, to the next one, to where it felt like all of them died within a week. But that wasn't the case.
Well, right,
because Kerry Von Erich had to work his way up to being an Intercontinental Champion WWF. That had to be several years later from
when he
lost.
And whenever they were talking about whoever got to go travel to wrestle Ric Flair, like they were talking about like it being a however long he was gonna have to go, like the next few months you're gonna be doing this, and then like next year you're gonna be going to Japan. And if you do good in Japan, we'll see how you do. Like he was going, like he hadn't even gone to Japan. Like he was obviously on the tour, but he hadn't gone to Japan yet. Whenever he was puking up blood in the bathroom.
Right. Well, then later on there was also the random line of Kevin Von Erich. There's something about him being damn near 40. I'm like, when the fuck did he turn 40 throughout this?
Right.
When he started taking over the company and stuff like that. Which, side note, when Kerry Von Erich was wrestling for WWF, I didn't realize that he only had 1 foot. I never knew he only had 1 foot that whole time. You cannot tell. I'll have to show you an old Texas Tornado match.
We'll have to look.
His right foot apparently is missing the whole time. You can't tell. I mean, he was good enough to win the IC title, but then, as he was saying when he called Kevin, was like, "I'm not feeling good. They're not going to extend my contract. I think the curse has a hold of me." Stuff like that. It's just, it was pretty wild. So the time lapse of the filmmaking kind of fucked with me a little bit. I mean, it was quick paced though. It was bang, bang, bang. Everything's going on real quick. It was a very interesting story, especially knowing that was pretty much true throughout all of it. So it's worth a watch, and fuck those little kids for making me cry. You fucking assholes.
FTK.
I was right there at the end, ready for the credits to roll, and then I'll be your brother. Fuck you, kids. But I know it's kind of an easy way out on 1 through 10, but I mean, I would definitely give it a solid 7. I would recommend people watching it, not for family fun, but I give it a solid 7.
Okay.
Wrestling fan or not, I think I would recommend it for wrestling fans or not, because it's an interesting story, especially knowing that it's true. Well acted across the board, besides Ric Flair.
Yeah. That
was awful. God, so many other people could have done that better. But I gave it a solid 7 out of 10. What's your rating, sir?
Well, I think before I give my rating, I'm going to call a bathroom break.
Oh, another commercial break.
We can...
Hold on. Now I'm ready.
Count on Sprite to do anything but quench your thirst.
We're back from another commercial break. I had to pay some bills. Had to pee some peas. That was fucking stupid. But anyways, we're back.
I mean, I can tell I had asparagus last night.
Oh, good thing we don't have smell-o-vision.
Right. So
anyway, since commercial break, I gave Iron Claw 7 out of 10. Now it's time for your review. I'm very curious since you've never seen it.
So going into this movie, I really knew nothing about it. Like I said, the Von Erich name. Like I'd read the synopsis on the. I think it was Max that we watched it on. So I read the synopsis on it, and like I said, the Von Erich name rung a bell with me, but I couldn't place where that bell was ringing from. So going into the movie, I had no idea what was going on, and really, I mean, it was a pretty depressing movie, but I mean, overall,
Yeah, I forgot it was that depressing. I forgot that there wasn't really any happiness in this movie.
Well, I mean, like I said, as we were going through, I was like, well, okay, there's got to be some sort of payoff here. And then whenever he goes and rides the bike, I'm like, oh, he can't come down, and he's going to ride a motorcycle. Something's going to happen.
Did you think he was going to die on the motorcycle accident?
I did. And then the next time you see him, he doesn't have a leg. Or
comes around the corner missing the foot. Yeah, like I said, I didn't even know he was missing a foot during his WWF run.
But I mean, overall, the movie to me, I like not knowing if it was how true it kept to the story was my major question with it. But it sounds like, as we've talked tonight, it was pretty close to what really happened overall. I mean, I love what we'll call docudramas. Like, if it's pretty close to this, what really happened.
From understanding, the blunt of that movie was all true. Yeah,
I'm going to mostly enjoy it, even as slow as it was. Like, I mean, I understand they were trying to set up the brotherhood that they had and all that at the beginning of the movie, but then when the brothers started dying, it was like they were dropping like flies. To your point with the pacing, like it felt like they
it was just all the time, bam, bam.
Spaced out some of the death a little bit more throughout the movie, and maybe not built up as much at the beginning. But I mean, either way, overall, I felt like the movie itself I enjoyed. Trying to see, this is where my question of the rating comes in, because I mean, I've always kind of been infatuated with wrestling, and what I mean by that is, like, even as a kid growing up, I enjoyed watching it. I knew it was. I'm not going to call it fake, just in light of what we'll be reviewing later. I won't call it fake, but I know it's. I've always known that it's scripted, and even when you script things, that doesn't take the pain away because you scripted it. Like, they're still going through tables. They're still going through ladders. Like, they're still doing all this stuff. There's no difference in going and watching a movie than going to watch wrestling. If it entertains you, it's doing its job.
Same with movies. Like, I know this is a depressing movie, but it did entertain you. That's kind of the question you got to ask. Did the movie make you think after you watched? Did you just go, okay, that was a movie, turn it off?
No, I mean, my wife and I sat and talked about it for a while. Like I said, it was a somewhat depressing movie, but me personally, overall, I enjoyed it. It was one that was nothing like what I expected. I mean, I kind of expected an overcoming all the odds type of movie, kind of like Rocky or something. But it was not that. So if I'm giving it a rating out of 10, with this being the first rating, I think
just rate the movie.
I know, but with it being the first rating, I'm going to give it a dual rating.
A dual rating?
Yes. So I'm going to give it a 6.5.
Explain your duality here.
Well, so I'm going to give it a 6.5 today, with the option for it to be a 7.5 as I get better, like as I get more ratings under my belt.
We're right on. So 7, 6.5. We were right around the same ballpark there.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I said, it's one of those movies that anything much over a 7 for me is probably going to be a movie that I really, really enjoyed. A movie that I enjoy, probably going to be the 6 to 7 range. And then
overall, different pacing and some more happiness would have made this movie better.
They could have even put some comedic relief into it, and it would have been.
Yeah, they could have had some humor in there. They really didn't add any humor at all to it.
I mean, look, think about it. Like, those brothers, would not have been brothers that close without having some sort of shenanigans going on between them.
That's
could
true. They
been
could have
good.
shown some more shenanigans with them. Like we got to see the camaraderie with them.
Uh-huh.
Like we knew how close they were, but they could have added some more shenanigans, like sneaking off to a party and stuff like that.
Or playing pranks on each other, like things like that. Something to add a little bit of relief into it.
Instead of just watching how much of a prick the dad was, forcing them to do
Mhm.
this and that and this and that.
It's like the goal of the movie was to make the dad look like a piece of shit.
Right. Which apparently, from what I understand, he was a piece of shit.
Which, to be fair, sounds like he was. But
yeah.
the depressing part of the episode's over.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to do that movie first. I didn't want to end on a fucking sad note.
So, before you
we
give
get
the...
into Ready to
You're
Rumble.
not peeing again, are you?
No. I was just going to talk wrestling crossovers with pop culture.
Okay.
See if any of this sounds familiar to you at all and stuff like that. Because, you know,
It's good.
there's always crossovers, like wrestlers
Is this like a little
actors
trivia?
crossing the wrestlers, stuff
Just
like
like a
that.
little trivia tidbit.
Not really trivia, just some fun facts. 'Cause I've been a wrestling fan since I came out the nutsack, pretty much. One of my earliest memories of my childhood, I think I was 3 or 4 years old, and my grandpa illegally showed me WrestleMania because he built a descrambler.
Yeah.
He built a descrambler, and so I got to watch WrestleMania 3 or 4. I can't remember what.
Hold on, he built a descrambler?
Yeah, he on his own. He because my grandpa was into tech, and he would learn everything and anything he could, and he figured out a way to descramble pay-per-views to where we got to watch them for free.
Well, that's
Yeah,
cool.
my grandpa was the shit. And then he told me I get to watch WrestleMania.
Is this the
and
same
that was the
grandpa
start.
the same grandpa that let you watch Freddy?
Yep, and let me watch Porky's. Don't tell Grandma. You know? But and I also remember before watching any kind of wrestling event, my grandpa would buy white T-shirts and he would cut the collars off of them. So when Hulk Hogan came out, I could rip them off. Go with the Hulkamania. Yeah, come on, brother. So yeah. Thinking about it, I kind of blame my grandpa for my passion of professional wrestling that I never grew out of. I'm about to be 40. I'm about to be 40, and I still love it like I did when I was a kid.
Sounds like a pretty awesome grandpa.
Oh, yeah.
Do you want to... Was there other pop culture references that you wanted to bring up, or do we want to...
Oh, no. Yeah. No, that wasn't even the start of it. I just kind of want to run through.
Wasn't the start
yeah. No.
That was just reminiscing.
Yeah, reminiscing. But one of my earliest memories of wrestling kind of crossing over from wrestling into like mainstream television is a good old Saturday morning cartoon called Hulk Hogan's Rockin' Wrestling.
I remember a wrestling cartoon. I never got to watch it, but I remember seeing the commercials for it.
Yeah, it's called Hulk Hogan's Rockin' Wrestling. None of the wrestlers voiced their own characters. They were all different voices. But there was one voice that you definitely know. Have you ever heard a wrestler called the Junkyard Dog? Have I ever told you about it? He's an old 80s wrestler. Have you heard of him at all?
I'm not.
Well, he was a wrestler from the 80s, mostly early 90s. And he was a part of the cartoon. He was voiced by none other than Uncle Phil, who was also the voice of Shredder. Yeah.
The late James Avery, who voiced the Junkyard Dog, and damn did he nail it.
Superfly will keep tabs on it. Right now, we got to get you out of range of those bozos.
Every dog needs a bone to chew on.
He was also the voice of Shredder in the Ninja Turtles. He voiced the Junkyard Dog.
I didn't know that Uncle Phil voiced Shredder either. Man.
Yeah.
Uncle today.
Yeah, Uncle Phil was more of a voice actor before he became Uncle Phil. He did a lot of voice acting before that. So yeah, that was a Saturday morning cartoon that only lasted a season. It flopped, unfortunately, but I really enjoyed it. And then, and that was during the Hulk Hogan craze because it was Hulk Hogan's Rock and Wrestling. So then Hulk Hogan crossed over into the movies, including one that I almost had us review, but it wasn't streaming anywhere. But No Holds Barred was his first movie where he's wrestling the dude Zeus, which was Debo from Friday.
Mm-hmm. Was it the nanny that he was in?
He was no, he
you
was.
know which one I'm talking about?
Yeah, he was Mr. Nanny was the movie that he did.
Mr. Nanny, okay.
He's Mr. Nanny, where he's supposed to protect these kids, and these kids are fucking hellraisers, like problem child type things.
Right.
Oh. And all of a sudden you have Hulk Hogan and a fucking tutu in that movie.
I know. That made me laugh so much.
Yeah. Yeah, I recently binge watched some Hulk Hogan movies. They weren't great.
They haven't aged well.
No, they weren't even great back then, but I just saw Hulk Hogan on the big screen, so I enjoyed
it. The Hulk movies.
I enjoyed Suburban Commando. He also did Santa with Muscles. That just says it right there in the title what that movie was, which also featured a young Mila Kunis.
Ooh. Like pre that 70s show?
Yeah. She was like a 12, 13-year-old tomboy in this movie.
Okay, I can't say ooh then like that.
Right. Other Hulk Hogan movies, Thunder in Paradise 1, 2, and 3. That also spawned off into a TV show. Fucking ridiculous. He also did Three Ninjas High Noon at Mega Mountain.
Oh, I love the Three Ninjas are like, oh man, like I've got the second and third one. I have not been able to find the first one on streaming. Like we have Voodoo, so like I've got the second and third one. I haven't been able to find the first one.
Go ahead and avoid the fourth one, which is the one with Hulk Hogan. That one is a pilot trailer. It has Hulk Hogan and good old Ernest in it.
Ernest Peel.
Yeah, he's the villain in it. You got Ernest and a little kid standing on top of a loop-de-loop roller coaster fighting each other. And it's fucking retarded. It is bad. Like, not even fun bad. It was.
That just makes me think we're gonna have to review a couple Ernest movies at some point, and I know the two I would pick.
So and Hulk Hogan had his horrible run of movies there. A wrestler that had a good run of movies was Roddy Piper, in my opinion.
Okay, is that the one where I came here to chew gum and kick ass, and I'm all out of gum?
Yeah, from They Live.
They Live. There you go.
Yep, he did They Live. That was his most famous one. He also did Hell Comes to Frogtown, which I got from Vinegar Syndrome. It's a fucking beautiful thing. That's going for like a lot of money now, but it's a sci-fi movie that sounds like the title. Hell Comes to Frogtown. He's literally in he's in a town with mutated human frogs, pretty much. It's a lot of fun though. He also did a couple movies with the Tybo guy, Billy Blanks.
I have those Tybo movies on VHS.
And Roddy Piper also appeared in TV shows like It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
I did not know that.
Yeah, you remember? Did you see the It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia episode where they did the wrestling with the garbage man?
I've seen some of the episodes. It's not one that I've seen start to finish.
You didn't see Danny DeVito's Garbage Man? That was his gimmick in the wrestling episode that they did. Well, there's a wrestler living out of his car, and it's Roddy Piper, and it's fucking hilarious. Roddy Piper was a one of one. I like his movies more than Hulk Hogan's movies. That's for fucking sure.
Okay.
But then there's also been a history of... Do what?
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say that, but then there's also a history I think you might find interesting. Because obviously there's been actors that go into wrestling to promote movies and stuff like that.
Right.
But there's also been fictional characters that have popped up in wrestling history. Really? One of them, the whole point of it was to promote Bride of Chucky. But he actually he popped up on the screen to argue with Rick Steiner, and Rick Steiner's arguing back at him, and it is fucking hilarious. But my favorite fictional character to show up in wrestling, though, was, I think, late 80s, early 90s, WCW. Sting is locked in a cage, and he can't get out. Who comes to the rescue? fucking Robocop.
So
But yeah, I'm kind of brain farting a little bit because the garage beers got me feeling good and delicious
Attaboy.
and nutritious.
Wait, you feel delicious?
I
How
always
much of
feel
your
delicious.
how much of yourself have you eaten?
I'm like the gingerbread man from fucking Shrek.
All right. So, are we doing a break before we move into the last movie?
Before we dive into Ready to Rumble, starring Dave Arquette, Scott Conn, Oliver Platt, we're gonna have a little commercial break. So good old Kung Fu Husky's gonna send you off. Good old Brewski saying it's time to go to commercial. So we'll be right back.
Okay, kids, back to class. Wrestle anywhere with wrestling superstars, some wrestlers, new from LJN.
We're back. Brewski said, "We back."
Oh my god!
I named
Okay.
this guy Brewski because he's a Kung Fu Husky. He's dressed like Bruce Lee. So I
Okay.
said Bruce Lee, Husky, Brewski, and I also drink Brewskis, so it's a perfect name for him. Fucking Brewski.
Yeah. Very nice.
I fucking love this stuff.
Do you need a minute alone?
No, I'm trying to get him to stop, bitch. Motherfucker. No, he has a brain of his fucking own, but you want some beer? What? And we're back.
There we go. So, before we get into the last movie, or our what we'll call the headlining movie, I will be honest with you. I was not expecting much going into this movie.
As much as I've praised it, and our other wrestling companions have praised it,
I know.
and you witnessed David Arquette sign many Ready to Rumble posters and stuff like that.
I get it, but like literally that movie, I was expecting to be not a B film, but I was expecting it to be
like one of
maybe
those
more
awful like parody spoof type movies or something
right.
like that.
Like it surprised me. I'll tell you that. There was many names in there I did not expect to see.
Yeah. Well, and the movie we're talking about is Ready to Rumble from, I don't want to say 2000. Starring Dave Arquette, Scott Conn, Oliver Platt, Martin Landau in one of his final roles, who was a legendary actor who decided to do this movie. Kudos to him.
And was it John Pantalone?
Yeah, that guy that's been in like every single movie along with Sam Jackson, you know.
Always the co-star.
Yeah. He's the white Sam Jackson. He's in everything.
And Rose McGowan is the whore.
Yeah, Rose McGowan, which that's one of the things that he talks about. David Arquette, he's sisters with Rose McGowan in Scream and a love interest in this movie.
Right.
And they're around the same time period. So David Arquette's like, that was a little weird that I have a violent love scene in Ready to Rumble with my sister from Scream.
Right. So the oh man, whenever she started like all of a sudden coming on to David in that show, or into I can't remember his character's name, but when she was coming on to him, it felt off to me, and I was like, hey, that's pretty cool that the girl that he has the poster on his wall of is like coming up to him and doing this. And then when she just wanted to wine and dine him and do this, I was like, oh, she's doing this for ulterior motives.
A mole. She's a fucking mole.
And then 5 minutes later, find out, yep, she's the mole.
But to go into the backstory of this movie wasn't what you're expecting. The reason why this movie even exists is it was in WCW's dying days, and they're trying to
revive,
get the company to go in. So they thought, let's make a movie. And so they financed and produced this movie called Ready to Rumble with David Arquette, who has been a massive wrestling fan since he was born.
Mm-hmm.
And so that came from fruition. And before we even get into the movie, the promotion of this movie has a story of its own on how they were like advertising this movie. Have you heard of the story of David Arquette becoming the WCW World Champion?
You've told me about that, but I don't know anything about it.
Yeah, so around the time this movie is coming out, David Arquette is on WCW Nitro every week promoting the movie, and then he gets thrown into a match. And the writers of WCW thought it'd be a good idea for David Arquette to actually beat the World Heavyweight Champion and become the World Champion of WCW. But the writer of WCW at the time, he's infamous in the wrestling community. His name is Vince Russo.
Okay.
The way he looked at titles, he just looked at them as props, as storytelling props. He didn't see that there was any kind of lineage to these titles and stuff like that. But when David Arquette won the WCW title, the internet community was pissed. And this is pre really internet, where like social media and stuff like that's where people go really bitch about it. But it was known instantly.
Why?
This is one of the worst decisions ever. Because you always have these wrestlers that work their way up through the indies and work their way into the main card, all to get that title so they can be the number one guy in the business.
It's like when Michael Jordan
come in
and he took the spot of somebody to be on their team that was fighting their ass off to be on the team, and they were the first man out because they wanted Michael Jordan on the team.
Right. So then, and Vince Russo just used the title as a prop and to sell movie tickets and to get more ratings. Right. So they slapped the title on Arquette. It's even known that Arquette, when they presented the idea, he's like, "This is a terrible idea. Like, there's other wrestlers that have been clamoring to win this title. You gonna put it on me?"
Mm-hmm.
And Vince Russo's like, "Yeah, it'll create a bunch of controversy and people will tune in and stuff like that." It was quite the opposite. People were fucking livid over this. To where David Arquette, further down the road before we get in the movie, there's a documentary that came out a couple years ago called "You Cannot Kill David Arquette."
Tell me about that.
He felt so awful about him winning the WCW title, even though it wasn't his decision at all. He was just promoting a movie, and he was doing what he was told.
Right.
To sell the movie. But he loved wrestling so much to where he didn't want to prove himself to where he deserved the WCW title, but he wanted some respect in the wrestling community to say, "Hey, I took this seriously. I take this seriously." So in this documentary, he's wrestling in people's backyards. Like, he literally goes and wrestles in front of like 5 people in somebody's backyard in this documentary in a hardcore match. Well, he's testing out different gimmicks and stuff like that because David Arquette wanted to create his own gimmick. One of his gimmicks was like he was going to be a magician and do some weird shit. He was very gimmicky with it. And he does a hardcore match. And in this documentary, you've seen him climb through the ranks. And the climactic of the documentary is David Arquette signed up to do a death match with this guy named Nick Cage, who is known as the king of death matches.
Okay. Not Nicholas, Nick.
No, Nick Gage, not Cage.
Okay.
Yeah. And during the match, David Arquette even claimed himself. He's like, I fucked up on the spot because he knew what was coming, but he made a slight move for fucked up. So they do the fluorescent light bulbs. When you smash a fluorescent light bulb over somebody, it explodes, right?
Uh-huh.
Well, they did the fluorescent light bulbs, but there was still a big shard that Nick Gage had. And David Arquette moved into a certain position to where he actually got stabbed in the jugular.
No.
So he started like bleeding profusely in the middle of this match. To where David Arquette, he rolled out of the ring and is holding his neck while he's bleeding, and then rolls back in because he's like, "No, I got to complete the match. I got to finish the match." So he rolls in and he goes in and tells him like, "Dude, we got to finish the match." So then dude rolls up David Arquette, pins him 1, 2, 3, and David Arquette rolls out the ring and leaves. And Luke Perry, of all people, drives him to the hospital.
Holy shit.
And David Arquette almost died that day because of the amount of blood loss and just the way his jugular got pierced. And
Wow.
it was a crazy thing. So I in my opinion, David Arquette proved himself worthy and the wrestling community that
I agree.
he's a serious guy.
Like, he proved that he's a stupid son of a bitch. But
We're now going into Ready to Rumble.
oh man, so that movie cracked me up.
I figured it would.
I enjoyed
it's
that
the
movie.
type of humor that I know you like.
I mean, I will say that David Arquette was screaming a lot, which, I mean, I get it. That's what his role
Which is
was.
hilarious, yeah. Like his scream is fucking hilarious. The way he yells, Jimmy King! You know, as much as I love David Arquette in this movie and his performance, and this movie is the reason why I fell in love with David Arquette. It wasn't Scream or anything else. It was this, just because it just showed me how fucking hilarious it is. This yelling and his facial expressions and just how much he fucking crushes.
Right.
But Oliver Platt, though, who's a phenomenal actor as Jimmy King in this movie, the fucking redneck that got kicked out of his fucking job. Yeah, baby. Like anytime you ever hear me going, yeah, baby, that's what I'm quoting. Yeah, that's me.
I
doing
did not
Oliver
know
Platt.
that. I will know that now.
Yep. So anytime you hear me go, yeah, baby, that's me doing Oliver Platt or Jimmy King.
I was gonna say, I'm gonna start calling you OK King.
Yep. Because Jimmy King is the best wrestler. He's the best. Better than all the wrestlers. He'll rule that ass.
That little jingle made me laugh. He's the best slur.
Knock knock, who's there? Jimmy King in a dress. When he's in the fucking chair, the just who's there?
So one of the things that I wanted to look up and I didn't is how many times did Oliver Platt get kicked in the nuts? Or how many times was there a nut shot in the movie?
I say, did you see that during the credits? Because there was a montage of him getting kicked in the nuts.
Right, but but he wasn't the only one that got hit in the nuts. Like, what was the nut shot count? Because I kind of wanted to do a Joe Bob. We got 8 cuts in the nuts. We got 3 tits. We got 4 cocaine shots. I don't know.
A lot, yeah. There was a lot of nut shots in Oliver Platt in the movie. Like Richard Petty just drove a stock car into my nuts at 200 miles an hour. This is like, I love movies, and there's so many movies that I've seen so many times, but there's only a handful of movies that I can recite from beginning to end, and this is one of them. Like, I would advise not to watch Ready to Rumble with me because I'm gonna sit there and quote it all the way fucking through. Like, I love it when they're in the drive-thru. When dude talks to Brittany.
When they throw
wants that Brittany bare ass buffet.
And I thought it was
special.
I thought it was so funny that at the end of the movie, whenever you said Scott Conn, whatever.
Scott Conn, yeah.
Yeah, like
son of James Conn.
Brittany comes up and is trying to, oh, you're famous now. I wanna get with you. Nah, I'm good.
But then hooks up with who I think is the hotter one. Yeah. Fun fact: Brittany, the blonde girl that he was into, that's Kid Rock's sister.
No kidding.
Yeah, that is good. That's Kid Rock's sister, which they did ball with the ball a few times in that fucking song, or in that movie, just like they did Lid's "Net Net 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 Net," and they did that song. The soundtrack was a lot of fun. Though.
No, so I wanted to talk about the soundtrack because the soundtrack, in my opinion, was amazing. There's a lot.
Biff Naked did the cover of "We're Not Gonna Take It." That was really good. They even had a music video.
My wife was like, "Oh, that's a cover. That's not the original." And she's like, "Obviously." Like,
yeah.
It's
by a band called Biff Naked. Their music video was like the old school music videos. To when you did a movie or when you did a song for a movie, you integrated like clips of the movie into the music video and stuff like that.
Yeah,
they did all that. I love you. Broke my butterfinger, baby. Who was your favorite character in this movie?
My favorite.
Whether it's a big role or a small role, it doesn't matter. Favorite character in this movie.
Hmm.
Because honestly, like, I love David Arquette, but I thought Oliver Platt as Jimmy King was just so fucking good.
He was very good. I'm kind of leaning towards Scott Conn. Like, he was pretty entertaining. Like, I know nothing about him other than
Like, he was the buddy that you thought had more sense than his buddy, but then also he does a lot of stupid decisions too.
Well, right. Like, and the first time I ever saw Scott Conn was in Gone in 60 Seconds. It's like that was my only really knowledge of him. And then he starts talking about The Stranger.
I wanted to kind of talk like Ready to Rumble and kind of go through the movie, but I just can't help myself but just sit here and quote it and talk about it. Obviously, I love this movie. Like I said, I can recite it from back to front. So, I mean, I really don't need to really talk about it leading into my rating. Obviously, my rating is a fucking Miss Davis.
Oh, you're giving it a Miss Davis. All right.
It's a Miss Davis for me. The nostalgia, and then I can still watch it today and still love it and quote it and absolutely enjoy it. I don't expect the same from you and stuff like that. But.
So for those that did not, I think we talked about the Miss Davis rating earlier in an earlier episode. So for those that may not have watched it, Miss Davis,
the fucking 10.
So for me, when it comes to this movie, I don't know if you're gonna like it, but so this movie for me was a fun watch. I loved getting to see some of the, like, I guarantee there was a lot more wrestlers in the movie than what I knew the names of, just because it was really, I mean, it really was what it was.
Sounds like you had some good laughs. It sounds like what was missing is that you didn't have me doing my side commentary while you watched it.
Well, so let me finish where I'm at. So when it comes down to it, like, overall the movie was a really fun watch. I loved getting to see some of the wrestlers that I used to see on TV. And when it comes down to it, sorry, Andrew, I had to give it the lowly rating of an 8.
I knew you were doing a fucking zinger on me. Brewski tells you to fuck off, bitch.
Well, I really enjoyed that movie. Like, you played to my.
I had a feeling.
You played to the like my enjoyment of the comedy, and it was just overall
you love over the top slapstick type of fucking humor.
It overtook my expectations because, like, not knowing what I was going into, like, because you told me don't research any movies. I didn't, and we watched it, and I found myself laughing at least multiple times in every couple minutes. Like, it was a fun movie.
All right. Well, I am very ecstatic with both your ratings here, sir. On both movies.
No, I'll be honest with you. I surprisingly, I'll be honest with you, whenever you gave me those movies, I was very worried that I wasn't going to like either one of them. Well, I wasn't going to like Ready to Rumble. Iron Claw, I had been kind of interested in watching already anyway. And
so you're expecting not to like Ready to Rumble, like, because I did overhype the shit out of it. I know that.
Oh, and that's the thing. Like, when somebody overhypes a movie for me, I go in with high expectations. I went with no expectation, and it was a very enjoyable watch. I loved it. I would. It's one that I will watch again, probably.
I say you're definitely gonna watch it again because I want to watch it with you next time. We're gonna watch it together. I'd love to watch that with you.
Fair enough. I accept.
Well, that kind of concludes the wrestling, right?
It does. Yeah, so that kind of leads us into
what are we gonna do next week, buddy? It's your pick now. Next week, what are we doing?
I am going to change up the genre a little bit, but we will still be reviewing 2 movies.
Okay.
Movie number 1 is going to be Gangster Squad.
Gangster Squad. And what's number 2?
Number 2, we've already kind of mentioned earlier. That's why I said you're gonna hate me later, but we're gonna do Corky Romano.
Oh, That's a fucking gangster movie. It is, isn't it?
It is. Because he is part of a gangster family.
There's another ramble one.
Whiteside.
I've been Andrew Fay all day. I know it's kind of been a ramble episode, but thanks for hanging out with us. Drink some beers, play a drinking game with us.
Love you guys. Hey, I love you guys. I'm glad you joined in. Can't wait for you to listen again next week. Hope you come back, and we will catch you on the flip side.
I was gonna ask what's our end off, but apparently catch you on the flip side is gonna be our send off. So catch you on the flip side. Hang 10, bruh.